What's good, guys? Welcome back to Behind the Dugouts, and I hope you are keeping well. Now, in the wake of us becoming world champions, the players are now going to have a much needed break, about a 3-week holiday, and then they'll be coming back for pre-season. We've got 2 games against Leverkusen and AC Milan just before our first fixture against Crystal Palace in the opening day. Now, one thing is a question I wanted to put out, to you guys and have a discussion about it. Over the last sort of few years, especially since Thiago Silva had left and gone back to Brazil, there was a question that sort of hanged over the entire squad was, where's the leadership? Where's the leaders coming from? We look through, obviously, captain in Reece James, but at that, current point where he got made captain, he had spent a lengthy time out injured, wasn't really in the squad. And there had been comments that he needed to step up, be a bit more vocal in his leadership role, which is difficult when you're not on the pitch. When you're out injured, if you're not there, you can't lead. You know what I mean? But other than that, we looked at this squad, and even this season, we looked at them and gone, where is the leaders in this team? Do we actually have any natural leaders? Do we have any players that can take that step to become leaders and push this team on, to the heights that we expect and we want them to get to? And I would say up until towards the end of the season, we were still looking. We were still saying we need to go in the transfer window, we need to go get experience. We associate leadership and being able to lead with players that have had experience, that have been around the block, that have got a bit of mileage on, so to speak, because how else do they lead? They need to be around the game in order to bring the young players through. And we are a team that are just filled with young players. We've got a few players over 26, 27, that's about it. And the rest are 25 and under. So there's no players that really have been around for a long period of time. They're all young players that are coming in to take the next step and push on in their careers. So it was definitely a question that was still hanging over the heads. Now, I have to say that I think that's changed. The club made a decision in around February time to bring in Williesa, who I think has played an important role in regards to the mentality of the team. There has definitely been a mentality switch. Impossible to argue that point. Something has changed, mentally in these players. Psychologically, you can see there's a little bit more about them. There's a little bit more bite. There's a little bit more grit, determination, all these things that we were questioning if these younger players had. Do they have the fight? If they go in a goal down, can they claw it back? When the going gets tough and there's real pressure on them, can they deliver? And they've shown that they can. And it didn't look like that was going to happen. It didn't look like that was, a point that these players were going to get to. And I think the decision to bring in Willy Issa, has definitely helped that situation, because he was brought in for that factor to build on their mentality. And there's been a few players that I think that it's affected and that have changed more than most in terms of, not only have they changed their mentality, because across the board the players have, but they've taken this next step into become leaders of the group. And there are 5 players that I think have become our core leadership group within this squad. And those players are Marc Cucurella, Reece James, obviously the captain, Levi Colwill, Enzo Fernández, and Moisés Caicedo. For me, these 5 players have epitomised the change in mentality that this squad has gone through. Levi Colwill, to pick him first in particular, he was a player that we looked at, that we knew he was technically good. He showed lots of promise. He was still raw, but his ability, it was unquestionable. You could see there was a player in there defensively, his vision, his, quality on the ball. He had it all, but what we did think that he lacked was the mentality. He was getting in a lot of fights. He was picking up silly yellow cards. He was switching off, his concentration in games. He was getting caught out because he wasn't, mentally switched. And he wasn't all there all the time. And there was a time where people were saying that, perhaps he should come out of the squad and we should, put a more like tossing in replace of him because he was going through a little bit of a sticky situation. But for me, Levi Colwill is a player now. He's definitely our starting centre back. He's one of the first names on the team sheet. He controls that back line. The way that he speaks and comes across in press conferences now, it's not, oh, we're going to try our best. And that's one thing that's, has changed is there was a lot of talk of, we're going to do our best. And, of course, we expect you to do your best in the game, but it's come more of fighting talk. They're coming out going, not only are we coming here we're coming to win. We're coming to win things. We are a winning team. This is what Chelsea is. And that's how they all talk now, Look at how Levi Colwill and Reece James are speaking before the Club World Cup final. That team PSG needs to be scared of us. It's not just us, being scared of them and people doubting us left, right, and centre. They were saying we're going to win this game and we're going to prove people wrong. And Levi Colwill is a player that has proved a lot of his doubters wrong, especially at the back end of the season, and to go on and become Conference League champions and then world champions. And his mentality he's definitely he's improved the side of the game. He's not getting in these silly fights anymore. He's not lapsing in concentration, getting caught out because of it. He's switched that side of the game physically. He's a lot tougher now, and he's a lot more switched on. He's barking at players, he's giving out orders, he's controlling the back line, which is what we expect from a centre back. With Thiago Silva, John Terry, they were all players that marshalled that back line. If I'm pushing up, you're coming with me. And that's what we need in a centre back who, has leadership qualities. He needs to be able to lead, not just lead the team, but lead by example. And that's what he's doing at the moment. And that goes the same for, the left back partner he's got on his left-hand side. There was a video that went around after, the trophy lift, and once it's been lifted, all the players want to, get a lift and get pictures taken, and everyone comes in, especially all the young players. I saw like Tyreek George and things that, played an important part, but maybe feel because they didn't, play a lot of the games that they're a little bit nervous and don't want to get too much involved. And there was a player that obviously hadn't been involved in the tournament, but was there to train in Kendry Paez. And obviously we know a lot of us wanted him to be part of it. He wasn't, doesn't matter now. But he was there, he was training, and, he's part of the squad, regardless if he's going on loan. The plan is for him to be a part of the squad going forward. And there was the video of Cucurella, going over to him and dragging him into the celebrations, getting him to, hold the trophy. And then Moisés Caicedo's coming over and putting his medal on him. And you can see, he's clearly a humble guy. He knows he's not taken part, and he doesn't want to, get involved in a celebration that he's not technically been a part of. But at the end of the day, he's part of the squad. And for the players in the squad, not just, the young players around that, maybe his friends, but the older, I know it's a loose term because all our players are young, the older players and the players that have been in the squad for a while, the likes of Moisés Caicedo, those top players coming over to a young kid going, come on, mate, get involved in these celebrations. Come lift this trophy. Come feel what it feels like to be a winner. And that speaks volumes, not on just the squad, but Cucurella himself to go over there to, as 17, 18-year-old kid and go, come on, just get involved, mate. Like, we're a team, we're a family. And that's, for me, that's what leaders do, Leaders, they build that bond with the squad, and their aim is to, bring the squad together as in such. And to see that these players are now taking up the step, and Cucurella's not just doing it, mentally, and not doing these little gestures of bringing young players in. He speaks, again, volumes on the pitch. He is one of our most consistent, most important players on that field. So he's speaking it with his mentality, with his psychological output, as well as his, physical performances that he's producing day in and day out on this pitch. And then we move, and then you got the likes of Moisés Caicedo and Enzo Fernández, who have been the transformation of those two in that midfield has been what has made us so good in these last 2-3 months. The switch that has just changed in these players to produce the level of performances they produce, that they are not. You have the term willing runners that will run for everything. It's not so much they run for everything, they're just so determined to win. Especially, Fernandez, you can see it on his face, the emotion. He was, in tears once the whistle went and we won that final. The determination to win, to not stop at anything, to give 110%, to put your body on the line, even if it means you potentially could get injured. They just throw themselves about there and they're constantly giving everything for the club. And this kind of energy is seen by all the players around them. If you've got your leaders, because obviously Enzo Fernandez is the vice captain, but if you've got the likes of your vice captain and, Moisés Caicedo, another player that maybe not verbally much of a leader in terms of communicative wise, his performances and the way he marshals players and his performances that he puts on the pitch just pushes players forward, and all these other players around them will see this and then they will want to give more. It's the leaders that push the players on to when it when you go down, or if it's the 89th minute and it's 1-1 and you need that extra goal to win you those 3 points or to get you into the next round or to win you a final. It's the leaders in the team that will push the players to go out and get that point, to go out and get that goal. And Moisés Caicedo and Enzo Fernández are the driving force in that midfield and have become one of, if not the best midfield pair in the world. We're talking Real Madrid level, and you can't even say that anymore because we're the world champions. So if anything, anybody's midfield should be trying to compare to ours. But you get what I'm trying to say. Like, they have been so pivotal, so influential in not just the performances they're putting out, but how they're leading the team, how they're bringing and pushing the team further forward. And then you've got the likes of the young players in Andres Santos and Dario Sugo that are coming in, that are going to learn from these two boys, that are going to feed off the performances, the energy that they're producing, because they're producing it and they can see it firsthand. And every time a game's finished, they're going out there, they're speaking to each other, they're congratulating each other, they're building this bond of a unit, not having all these individuals, because a lot of the time over the last few years, it's been lots of individual players trying to make individual magic. And what I've seen of late is not, obviously we get the individual brilliance. We can talk about ice cold Palmer in the final, but it's, to me, the unit and the team are becoming more of a team. They are playing like a team. And that comes from the leaders in the group. And obviously the biggest one that has elevated and has improved in his leadership qualities is Reece James. From being a Cobham boy, 7, 8 years old, to come through the ranks, same as Levi Colwill, come through those ranks, but to come through and to captain, to wear that armband of your boyhood club, it's a lot of pressure. It's captains have the responsibility. They are the voice on the pitch for the manager. You know what I mean? So when a manager, gives their team talk, gives instructions during the game, but it's the captain that they've chosen to express those values and his philosophy throughout the team, mid-game while they're on the pitch. And Reece James, again, he was questioned right at the start. They were expecting more from Reece come out. I expect more from Reece James. He said this publicly. And instead of Reece James going in a shell, getting annoyed that someone said it, he's taken that on board and he has elevated his leadership qualities. Of course, he's quite a soft-spoken person. He's not a loud lad, Reece James. He's very, quiet. Even when he's, speaking in his press conferences, he doesn't strike me as an aggressive talker. But when he's on the pitch, he's scary. He looks mental in a sense. He's, barking orders. And the same with Reece, one of those things. He speaks for his performances as well. He puts in those performances and he pushes those players on. And he has come on leaps and bounds over the course of the season, over the course of these last few months. And it is evident on the pitch that when he is playing, we are a better team. Not just because of the way that he plays, but because of the leadership qualities that he brings within this squad. And I feel that with these 5 players and the way that they've, come of age in a sense, and they're still all very, very young. But in this squad now, all these 5 players, you've got a World Cup winner and a Club World Cup winner in Enzo Fernández. Again, a Club World Cup winner in Moisés Caicedo, Champions League, Club World Cup. And these players won Super Cups. Reece James, Cucurella, Euros winner, Levi. They've won trophies now. They've taken this team to the next level and they've won things. And that is the most important thing, especially with young players. We have to win to breed that winning mentality. And the leaders are going to be the ones in the team that are going to push that winning mentality through all the players, all the new boys that are coming in, the likes of Jamie Gittens. João Pedro's come in and he's already a winner. It's only taken him 10 days and he's gone from being, a Brighton player doing well there, but coming into Chelsea and in 10 days becoming a world champion. So his mentality and the way that he speaks anyway, he sounds like he's a winner anyway. But those players are, in charge of when these new players come in, these young players come in to breed in. You're at Chelsea Football Club now, and here we are winners. And it's their job to instill that into these players. And I think to have these 5 players where it looked like we had none a year or so ago when Thiago Silva left, it's gonna take this squad to the next level. And they've already taken the next step in terms of performance and what they did in that Club World Cup. But leadership wise, it's gonna do so much for the squad going forward. And I do think that we have found our leaders in these 5 players. But time will tell. Again, they're on the right track, they're on the right path, and the club is heading in the right direction. And with these guys at the helm, leading this team, I think it's going to go even further. And next year, I feel the Premier League is on the horizon. I don't think it's far away. I feel like we can win the Premier League next year, 100%. With the performances they're putting out, with these 5 as leaders, we stand a great chance. But again, this is my opinion, guys. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Again, it's a question that I'd like to put out to you guys. Do you feel that there are the leaders in this squad? Do you feel that the ones that I've mentioned are showing leadership signs, are part of that leadership group? Or do you feel that we need to bring in a leader that will push this squad on even further? Drop your comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But for now, guys, if you're enjoying the content, please hit that like button. Take care of yourselves, and I will catch you in the next one. And of course, world champions, baby.